Okay.
Yes,
Hey guys, we're back. Good to have you guys back. Hopefully, the technology worked out okay. We're having all kinds of technology issues today because of the new stuff that's going on with Webinar Jam. So let me know if you can hear me. First of all, let's make sure that you can still hear me and that you got all that good content delivered to you. Let's go. Jesse had a great question, Leanne. We'll cover that in a moment here, but so make sure that you guys are good. And we will stay tuned to make sure that everybody is still copacetic here.
Yep, and Mike has a good question too.
Yeah, so I am standing by waiting. Hopefully we're still live. Did we get cut off? Okay, guys, if you can hear me, let me know, because I think we might have gotten cut off. And again, the stream just okay. Larry said lost you guys. Refreshing didn't work. Lost connection. Okay, so let's refresh and let's see if we can get that going again. Sorry about that, guys. That's weird. Okay, so guys, just refresh. Let's see if that happened. Let's see what happens here. Okay, guys, you here? Let me know if you can hear me. Test 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2. Okay, wow. Okay. I am speaking. I'm going to keep speaking and continue to speak until blah, blah, blah. Here, yes, see, no. Okay. Wow. Okay. So at least we've got audio. We've got audio back. That's good.
Hey, John, why don't you share your screen and see if they can see something?
Okay. I am sharing my screen here in a moment. Let's see here. And we're going to go to... okay. You guys see the screen right now? Let me know if you can see it. It's our pretty Sellerator homepage.
Okay, you're sharing your Skype page.
No.
Yes.
Okay. All right, guys. All right. You can see on YouTube. That's really bizarre. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay, so tell me what page you can see now.
Now we can see Sellerator.com.
Okay, that's really weird. Okay. So guys, I'm not really sure what to tell you. I'm not sure where we left off. That's bizarre. That's bizarre. Okay, so people saying they can't see or hear me, so I don't know what to do. For those of you who can see and hear me, what's going on here is as of today, we got notification of this literally 2 hours before we went live. YouTube changed their schema, and YouTube and Google Hangouts and Webinar Jam are all connected. So they basically said that unless you have certain things set up on your YouTube channel, you can't broadcast live. We went in and set that up today, but there may be a lag time. So there's nothing that we can do about this. I thought we had it going. We definitely had the teaching segment going, so I don't know what happened, but yeah. So if you can hear me, we can at least take your questions live. And if for whatever reason you cannot hear me, then what we'll do is we'll just we'll make up for this next week, and we'll just do an extended Q&A, because there's not anything that we can do. As far as I know, Leanne, we have set everything up right according to YouTube, and YouTube literally said you have 24 hours to make this change. And what they mean by 24 hours is like you have 4 hours. If you have something going on today, you're pretty much screwed. So we did. So Dina's saying YouTube is fine. That's great, but yeah. So I don't know if that helps us.
Well, here's a suggestion. People could watch and listen on YouTube and keep the webinar gym open to chat.
Okay. Yeah, that'll work.
And then they can hear you, and then they just come into the webinar jam room just to use the chat.
Okay. It's just really weird that we lost our video stream. We lost the ability to share the screen. Anyway, that's bizarre. So, okay, great. Okay, so Scott said, I've been going over your training, but I did not see how you popped up the script to fill in. That part is awesome. Yeah, I wish I could show it to you. Wish I could show it to you, Scott, but apparently I can't. Apparently there are some issues with me showing it to you. So, yeah, because, yeah, okay, only a logo at YouTube here, that works. Okay. So guys, we'll just have to take your questions with verbal cues. You guys will have to listen to YouTube, and everybody can send hate mail to YouTube, because this is not our fault. This is the fault of YouTube. It's changing their terms of service today without giving any warning. So, so questions about the training so far. Obviously, we talked about pattern interrupts. We showed the images from my wife Rose, her video sales letter. I showed you Wes's video sales letter. I showed you the basics of pattern interrupts, and I'm sure we have some questions regarding that are specific to pattern interrupts, especially using images. So I did cover the technique that we're now using, which is to use images with words. I think that's all kind of a cool thing. So let me know if you have any specific questions regarding that. And Scott said, great info, by the way. Thank you so much. Mike says, how sensitive are people to the repetitive use of words? Are there guidelines? Here's what's interesting about that, Mike. I did a study once. It was not a university study, haha, but I had 30 people in a class, and I said, what is unusual about this slide? And I showed them a slide, and people would raise their hand. They go, the font is kind of weird, or, oh, it's just black font on a white background. And only one person out of the 30 caught the fact that the word you was used 8 times. 8 times in one sentence. So no, they do not. The subconscious mind is just not programmed to pick up on that. We love the word you and your and you can, etc., so much that we just don't pick up on it. And what we do pick up on it, but in a very powerful way, in a way that you want to emphasize. Because when you use those kind of phrases and words a lot, people just are bonded to you. So yeah, absolutely. Scott, thank you so much. Great info, by the way. Appreciate that. I appreciate that, for especially considering the tech problems that we're having. Gosh, I was really proud of tonight's webinar until everything crashed. Okay, how might you use a pattern interrupt in an email? That's a great question, Stuart. And Leanne, if you're still with us, you can field some of these questions too. I think that Leanne may be monitoring my chat by now, but if she is still with us, or if Travis is with us, let me know.
I am right here.
Okay, cool. How might you use a pattern interrupt in an email? It's harder to do because pattern interrupts work with primarily with an image and a voice. But you can use what's going on a lot right now, especially in the weight loss industry, and you can use this for whatever industry that you're in. They're using kind of shocking before and after photos to say, Terry lost X amount of weight doing this one weird thing. Look at the before and after pictures. And the before and after pictures is kind of the pattern interrupt. People aren't used to, I know this is kind of weird, but even in our year, people are still not used to receiving images in emails, especially if it's broadcast email. So that in and of itself can be used as a pattern interrupt. So consider that. And I might be able to help you more, Stuart, if I knew exactly what kind of business that you were in. Jesse asks if there should be a headline above the video sales letter, and do you recommend a written video sales letter below it? Okay, what I recommend is kind of what I've been teaching from day one is a little bit different than that. First of all, test headline versus non-headline. That's really, really important. Sometimes a headline will actually detract from the conversions of your video sales letter. Sometimes it's as much as doubled the conversion of video sales letter. So it's a very good idea to test it. Definitely above. As far as the written video sales letter, what I like to do is show that only upon whenever you see the button. Whenever you see the buy button drop down, then you can show a video sales, then you can show, a sales page below the VSL or a mini sales page below it. The other thing that I do, and I talk about this all the time, in fact, I showed you on Wes's video, VSL, when you window out of that, it goes to a written copy that is the exact same script. So that works really, really well to do it that way. Okay, so screen was so I am sharing my screen. So LN, don't know what LN is, but sorry, this is as screen share as we get at the moment. Thank you, YouTube. Stuart says, I am working on getting chiropractors to take cranial adjustment similar. Okay, yeah. So if you're working on something that specific, then you might want to use something that they would really relate to. For example, if you showed a picture of a chiropractor doing something completely unusual, like, and I don't know that much about, I love chiropractors, by the way, because I swear by them, but I don't know that much about the actual science behind it. Obviously, I'm not a chiropractor, but I would imagine if you go back and you look at the days, the origin days of chiropractors, and you were to use an image that would be kind of like, kind of strange or old fashioned, like a guy being stretched out on a rack, and like, well, what is this bizarre chiropractic technique? Well, actually, this was used in 1901. It was one of the very first, chiropractic techniques, and obviously it failed epically. But so hey, and then you go into your story. So you've got the pattern interrupt is kind of entertaining because you're looking at this, and chiropractors would know what it is. So one thing that's kind of cool to do with pattern interrupts is when people know what to expect, and then you show them something extreme. You show them something that is a little bit different than what they're expecting to see. So try that. That would work. That would work great in email or a video sales letter. So yeah, cool. Jesse, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. Great. So Leanne, are you with us? We can take some more questions now. And
pardon me, got a question from Jesse. He asked, he said it would be great to see a breakdown of your sales video on Sellerator.com since it's not a VSL, like the reasoning or strategy behind it. Thanks.
There's actually a VSL for Sellerator, and there's the front-facing page for Sellerator, which we have to use for corporate reasons. So the video that we have on Sellerator.com is not used. I think that we make probably 5 sales, 10 sales a month. It's very low. The vast majority of sales that we make are from video sales letters and from webinars. A $2,000 product to $3,000 product needs to be sold probably in a series of VSLs like we have, or a webinar, which is a lot easier to do because you can do it in one stretch. So I believe in using the same script technology that we basically have come up with for Sellerator, and just using it in a webinar format. So if you look at the webinar that I use quite frequently to sell Sellerator, it's using the same exact structure. It's just stretched out a little bit. So we start off with a pattern interrupt, which is me having a heart attack. It's not something you're expecting. We go into a deep rapport session. I talk about, like, literally showing you screen captures of how much money I'm making using Sellerator style VSLs, and a little bit about me, all that stuff. Then you go into the big problem section, which is the 3 roadblocks. Then you go into the bigger solution section, which is Sellerator. Then you go into the grand offer. It's literally step by step, word for word, right out of Sellerator with an basically extended. And the good thing about, I really am a big fan of webinars in general, especially for high priced products. Not for a $47 ebook, that's overkill, but for a $2,000 or $3,000 product, absolutely use a webinar, but use the same formula. Why change it? We know these 5 steps work exactly in this order. And all you do is you kind of ad lib around it in very much like what I'm doing now. This is not scripted, so that you can tell that I'm speaking to you live, right? That's the power of a webinar. Is you get the live feeling. You don't have that feeling with a video sales letter. So yeah, try the same exact. Well, there is a webinar specific video in the bonus sections. If you go into Sellerator, you look at the bonus sections, you'll see it. And I think that will pretty much guide you right through it. So cool. Next question. You're welcome, by the way. Thanks.
Yeah, Lisa asks, I'm trying to sell a series of children's stories that address sensitive topics such as parent in the gang, parent mentally ill. I can't begin to think of what pattern interrupt could be used for that.
Yeah, that you want to be more sensitive to that, because obviously that's a very yeah, it's a very tough thing. But the gang thing leaped out at me. So if the pattern interrupt dealt with a gang member, like I can just see someone who's a gang member, that's got the colors on, that's maybe holding a gun in one hand and a knife in another hand, and they just drop it to the floor. And then you come on and say, what on earth could have made this gang member drop his weapons and become a functioning part of society? That's what I'm about to share with you today. That would be really interesting, and that would be really dramatic as well. So a pattern interrupt doesn't have to be totally unusual. It works for a lot of products when you use something that's not expected, but that isn't expected for the topic that you're talking about. And that could be very dramatic. So like we covered a little bit today when I was talking about specifically Rose's VSL, we were being more dramatic and more right to the heart. And that would go really, really well with that topic. So consider that, Lisa, and see how that sits with you. Okay, cool. Next question.
Yes, hi. Keith asks, and let me give you a little context. Would it be unusual to connect the backstory of Henry Ford's visiting the Chicago meat plant and learning the assembly line? And would you use this visual analogy for my product? Using a formula system for growing my business, pattern interrupt of a Ford Model T and a hunk of meat. To clarify, I learned systems from another industry and applied them to my industry.
Yeah, definitely, especially because considering Henry Ford is famous. And yeah, if you made that assembly line image extremely interesting, like it was, so Henry Ford, like if you start off with everyone's seen this picture of Henry Ford, you see the assembly line of the old, automobiles. You say, and you probably realize this is Henry Ford. What if I told you that the original idea came from this, and you showed an assembly line of meat? And especially if you had a picture of Henry Ford looking at it, like he got his idea out of this. So, likewise, what I'm going to show you today came from the idea came from somewhere else, but it's going to actually change your life. So that's kind of interesting. I like that. I like that as an interrupt in general. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Henry Ford and a hunk of meat would get my attention.
Yeah, that would be like the other thing you could do is you could show a picture of Henry Ford and a steak together. It's like, believe it or not, these two things, Henry Ford and a piece of steak, is going to end up profiting you a lot of money if you watch the end of this video, or could end up profiting you a lot of money if you watch the end of this video. And I'll tell you why. These two things don't look like they go together, but they do. So that's another great interrupt. So thanks, Leanne. That's really good. Yeah.
Let's see. LJ is asking, can you post in the chat the link to your Sellerator webinar that you sell Sellerator from? You would like to study it.
Yeah, so Leanne can, if you can just post your email, then Leanne could send you an email link to one of the, because I do those live, so one of the ones that are recorded, she could probably post that to you. So yeah, it's definitely worth looking at, because and by the way, when you dissect that, we could send that to everyone, by the way, Leanne. We could just send it out by email.
Yeah, I was thinking doing that.
When you dissect what I was doing, you'll see that I'm following the 5 steps. I'm just elaborating a little bit on them because I have more time. So yeah. So okay, next.
We get a question from Jeff. Have you found a magic dollar figure when selling a service that requires face-to-face meeting versus online sale?
Oh God, that's a great question, Jeff. Not a magic dollar figure, but my instincts will tell me that anything where you're crossing over the $1,000 mark, it not face-to-face, but doing like a 15-minute Skype call can make all the difference in the world. Like a lot of times what we have for Sellerator people that are doing high-end stuff, we have them selling essentially a lead and qualifying that lead using the Sellerator scripts in the 5-minute or 20-minute VSL to highly qualify and get really specific on the leads that they want. And then they set up a 15-minute call on Skype. And this idea originally came from Eben Pagan. I don't know if you know who Eben is, but he's a very high-level internet marketer, and he was using 15-minute calls on Skype. I think actually he was doing 10-minute calls, but to sell a program that was between $5,000 and $10,000. And so he would qualify them with the VSL, and then send them the people who qualified. He would call. Completely doable, especially if you have a high-end product like that. Yeah. So or high-end service.
Cool. Now Clemens is asking, how about using this formula? I'm assuming he's asking about the Sellerator formula in a webinar to run people through the sales process of buying a car or house address concerns and how you can uniquely help them, and then show some special deals. Any further pointers on that?
Yeah. So if you're buying a house, and I'm in the market to buy a house, so I'm right there, or if you're buying a car, the concerns are pretty much the same across the board, right? If you have a house or a car for sale, you're going to want to be a little bit different from a straight slide presentation. You're going to want to show it. But then you can go into some really interesting things like what makes this house so unique. Let me tell you the story behind this house. So now think about this. How many real estate agents do that? Let me tell you the story behind this house. Now, granted, it has to have a story, but a good copywriter, i.e., a good Sellerator member, can find a story in just about anything. You can find the story that I think you can find an intriguing story about anything. You know, this house was designed by a guy that was originally a blank. Or, you know, the reason why this house is where it is because this really weird story that happened in 1947. You tell some story that gets someone interested in the house outside of being just a physical domain that they're going to move into. What makes this house unique? What makes it so different? That's what I'd like you to be thinking about. Same thing goes with a car. Let me tell you what makes this car so unique. Those are the kind of things that I think separate Sellerator style video sales letters and sales pages from other things, is that you are actually telling a story. You're actually telling a really, hopefully a very good story that makes it sound very unique. So
what about if they go through the hook and headline for that too, to come up with the core reasons that people want a house? Would that make it better?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things you can do there. You can use headlines that work, that you've tested using the 5-step pre-VSL formula that we talked about in week 1. You can also send people through a quiz and say, what are you looking for in a house or a car? What are the main things that you're looking for? And then direct them to a video sales letter that's specific to the answers in those in those quizzes. So that, I think that would be really cool. So
great. Let's see. Jesse is asking, we're having trouble coming up with the nightmare story. So this maybe doesn't deal with the pattern interrupt, but the nightmare story for our product. The product is a Udemy style site that's membership based. Members pay a college level. Wait a minute. Hang on. Members pay a monthly, yearly, lifetime fee to access all our courses. The courses range from dating to business. So this makes it difficult to narrow down the USP, but not really, because the USP is on the Udemy site, not the courses.
Okay, so yeah, so what are the answers to have a different VSL for each product? I mean, so are you trying to get a VSL for one VSL for the entire site? Because that could be a problem, and that could be a problem with the nightmare story too. So it's something to consider if you have multiple products. Unless I'm misunderstanding you, you have multiple products on one site or multiple genres on one site. And if that's the case, I would have multiple VSLs to address each genre. So let me know if that's.
It sounds like the product is the site.
Okay.
And then on the site, of course, there's multiple courses, but the product is a Udemy style site. So it seems like she's selling that, right?
So let's clarify that. Is that correct? Can we get a little bit more clarity on that? That way I can answer the question a little bit better. Because I'm not sure if you're selling different products or if the site is the product. Can you clarify?
Yeah, she's saying correct. One VSL for the site, we have 100+ courses. So
yeah, so okay, 100. Yeah, if you have 100+ courses, that'd be a lot of video sales letters, right? So the question is what makes the site unique? So there has to be something about the site that gives it some form of uniqueness, right? And at that point, that's what I would harp on in the VSL. So can you let us know what makes it unique?
Yeah, so unique other than Udemy, right? How is it unique as compared to that? Yeah, so Jesse, if you could say that, and I will, let me see. I'll give you Larry's question in the meantime. Oh, no, Jerail's question. Hang on.
Okay.
They're flying by now. How could you do a pattern interrupt for a service such as roadside assistance? And I'm having trouble coming up with a headline because I'm constantly thinking about my USP. USP is what you're selling. Do I need to be broad? So I guess for him, it's like, is his business a roadside assistance company?
Well, okay. When I think roadside assistance, what I think of is not I have a flat tire. It's that I have a flat tire and I have an emergency. I have a flat tire and I have a pregnant wife in my car. I broken down on the side of the road and I'm in a very bad neighborhood. So think of it in this way. If I want to purchase roadside assistance, um, what's going through my mind at the time I want to do that is, well, what if I have a flat tire, right? That's what most people are thinking. I don't want to change a flat, whatever. I just want to call someone to have it done, right? So if you focus on what other people are what they should be thinking about, like, so what if you have a flat tire? That's really inconvenient. But what if you have a flat tire and you're also injured, or you've got someone sick in your car, or you've got a child in your car that's asleep, or you've got all these things that people don't think about? You need to get help fast. What if you're in a bad neighborhood? Think about all the cases that where people need roadside assistance, but they're in a very bad predicament. So yes, we're going to help you with the flat tire, but we're also going to help you get out of a bad situation. So you can think of a lot of cool pattern interrupts like that. Cool.
Got it. Thanks. And Jurel, if he addressed it, you could just tell us. But it sounds like he did, like John did. All right, Larry has a question. I'm a former officer in the Navy SEALs. Well, thank you. Selling a leadership development program that takes the structures, mindset, knowledge that enables SEAL teams to operate as a highly functioning team.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I have is staying away from the focus on me, the Navy SEAL, versus them.
Okay, so is this? I just want to understand, Larry. First of all, thank you for your service. Second of all, are you targeting this to other SEALs or to the general public? Was that? Can you clarify that, Leanne?
Yeah. So while we're waiting, Larry, can you put that in the chat? And while we're waiting for that, Jesse said that it's a Udemy style site, but Udemy you have to pay per course, and on Jesse's site you pay just a flat monthly fee for the whole.
Yeah.
It's a membership site basically.
Okay, so we'll answer Jesse, then we'll get back to Larry. So Jesse, what makes your site? Okay, paying per course. Ours is paying a flat monthly. Yeah. Okay. So are you targeting people who are interested in multiple things? In other words, so if I'm interested in learning to speak Spanish and also playing guitar and also, something else, macrame, then that's going to be interesting to me. Is that your audience? Is there a viable audience for that? That's why I need to fill that out before I can say here's your target for your VSL, because it sounds like the course, the site itself, the Udemy course site itself rather is a little bit unique in the sense that you just pay for a one-time thing. You don't pay for each of the courses. But how much interest do people have in taking multiple courses? So,
hey John, you know what it sounds to me? I don't know if you have those where you are, but do you remember Learning Annex?
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, so Learning Annex. So it sounds like this site where they had a whole bunch of different courses per semester, right? And then you just signed up for the ones you wanted, like stand-up comedy, cooking, whatever. But they were all in the Learning Annex.
Yeah, the big question would be, yeah, I remember that, but the big question for me is, like, most people are interested in one thing at a time. So if they're interested in one thing at a time, it would be probably beneficial to have like an introduction that was, even if it was a minute long, that talked only about that one thing. And then you had a generic, end of the video sales letter that talked about why the site is really cool. So that's the way I would approach this. As a marketer, it really, yeah, it sounds like lynda.com. Robert says it, yeah, because Lynda is very similar to this. In the sense that they've got lots of training tutorials. I used to be a member of that way back in the day. But there's lots of, but I was a member only for one thing. I was only into FileMaker at the time, if anyone remembers that. So I didn't care about anything else. I only cared about the FileMaker tutorials. So more than likely, a lot of your customers are probably going to be the same way. They're only going to care about one or two things. So maybe target the one or two things with just a really short 1-minute intro. Like, so you want to learn Spanish? We've got you covered head to toe. We're going to teach you this, that, and the other. There's more to that, though. Have you ever thought about people that want to learn Spanish often want to learn, like, get tips on travel, get tips on cooking, so the things that people would want to know if they wanted to learn Spanish. And so you can make just a really brief intro video and then have the same exact close video for every single one of these. So then it goes in the closed video. It says, well, hi, we're so-and-so.com, and this is what we do. And you pay one fee and you get all this stuff. So you can learn, you can do everything from learn this to learn that, to learn that, everything you want, you know, and then you've got it covered. That's what I would do. Because it's always best to be specific with people, always. That's been my experience, at least as a marketer. So, so I think I see Larry, but I'm not sure because there's so many people on here. Larry saying no, that's the general public, and want to get back to this. As how do you not focus on yourself as being the Navy SEAL? So have a look, really study the you know, section 2. You know, step 2 of the BSL process, where I go into the the vital connection, where you go into modest rapport. It's like, look, you know, yes, it's true that, you know, yeah, I wasn't always an Navy SEAL. I wasn't always a, you know, decorated war hero. This isn't why I'm getting into this. You know, I'm basically just an American like you, and I'm into this, that, and the other. And I've learned a couple of things that make me a uniquely qualified individual to share some specific things about blank, blank, and blank. And if you're a SEAL, more than likely that blank, blank, and blank is discipline, you know, dedication, excellence. I mean, I know a few SEALs, so I can pretty much say that that's probably across the board, you know, and yeah, so that's how I would shift the emphasis off of you being a SEAL, and saying that what are the qualifications that you have being a SEAL that enables you to teach the general public X, Y, and Z. Focus on that. That's where I would go for. You know, that's what would attract me. So, you know, if those things are, I'm thinking broad spectrum here, like, you know, discipline, commitment, follow through, those kind of things. I mean, who better to teach you that than a SEAL, right? And then you could actually be funny about it. It's like, and if you don't do it, I'm a Navy SEAL, I'll come kill you. I'm just kidding. Don't say that, but you know, you got to play around with that kind of theme, right? You have a lot of leeway there. So cool. So let me know if that helps, if that gets more to the point. So, okay. So we got time for some more questions here, Leanne.
I'm scrolling. I don't see any at the moment.
Yeah, Larry said just if they don't pay. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, and if you don't pay, I'll you know, I will come hunt you down.
I think there might be a question from Lisa.
You're welcome, Larry. Thank you.
Let's see. She's selling academic English course and coaching for international students to help them save time and money because they won't have to spend time in pre-college level prerequisites. They are often shocked to find their English proficiency is not adequate. Any ideas for a pattern interrupt for this?
Yeah, I actually do. So if you showed a sentence at the first of your video sales letter and says, and you said something like, do you realize that only 1 out of 7 job applicants can read this sentence? Can you read this sentence in the next 5 seconds? And it's some relatively complex sentence. And then you say, okay, don't feel bad if you can't read that. Basically only 20% of job applicants can read that. And 19% of those get hired. Now I'm making this up. I don't know the stats of it, but just think about that. 19% of these get hired. So if you could say something like that bold, I just lost my screen. Excuse me 1 second. So if you could say something that bold, that powerful, that would really grab my attention and say, what if we could teach you how to read that quickly, that well, so the next job interview you go to, you blow the person away. That's what this video is about. So again, it's a pattern interrupt that they're not expecting. So that I would totally go for that. Yeah. Let me know if that sounds good for you. No, thanks, Dean. By the way, I appreciate that. Yeah, we tend to over deliver here. So yeah, Larry says late night visit to discuss. Yeah, I'm actually partners with one of my partners is a Navy SEAL. So I have a little bit of an insight into what you guys had to go through. And when I say insight, I mean insight from the outside. My father was in World War II. I'm not that old, but my dad, I was 52 when my dad was 52 when I was born. So yeah, it's kind of grew up around that. But so anyway, and we're here in San Diego where it's SEAL town here. So as you can imagine. So Leanne, you still with us?
I am here, but the questions have have stopped.
I think we got. I think we covered everything. Now, I know we're gonna have more because a lot of stuff comes in the chat after we're finished here. But we're coming up to near the end of the time here, so hopefully we've gotten a lot of the questions answered. Anything we haven't answered, please remember that we are here on chat. If this is interactive, and we'll get the questions answered, and hopefully you got a lot out of the training. And thanks for bearing with the weird, bizarre, troublemaking YouTube thing. So what we're going to try to do is salvage the video and the slides and whatever, and then we'll get a replay up for you guys. And then hopefully when you get the link for this, it'll be the entire replay with the chat and everything else. And everything will be copacetic. So just give us a day or two on that, because of I have no idea where we ended. I need to look at what we ended up with. And so Leanne and I will get together with that with the rest of our team and get that out to you. So thank you guys very much for joining us again tonight. Look for us next week, which by next Tuesday, hopefully everything will be good. We'll have everything down. So thanks again, and thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday.